Hi, and thank you for tuning in. I am going to attempt to explain why a touchscreen laptop computer is almost completely a waste of money and not a good option. It is almost completely useless for 95% or more users, and actually, for even the very few people that might benefit from it, it may not be the best current technology that would be suitable to use. Now, I couldn't find anything online, not much, and I couldn't find much on YouTube to answer this question. And many of the new laptop computers, notebook laptop computers, have touchscreen, and even the desktop ones. I'll explain to you why I think it's a big mistake, and a lot of these companies have rushed and have made a big mistake by allowing consumers to purchase these laptops. Let me begin by saying that if you do buy a laptop computer, essentially the main benefit is you'll have a ultra high resolution screen. Oftentimes it's about 3000 by 2000 pixels, so you do get a little bit more screen real estate, which is excellent, and it's even better than some of the iMac Pro laptop computers. So here's the thing. Now, you might be getting higher resolution, but let me explain to you what you're going to be trading off. First of all, you're going to be paying a little bit more, typically 10 to 25% more for that laptop that has a digital touch screen. You're going to get a little bit less battery life, sometimes as much as around 30% less. And you are going to get higher screen real estate, much better pixels on the screen. However, it's a little bit excessive. Let me explain. First of all, when you do get a touch screen, currently 2017, and probably into the next year or so, the screen is extremely reflective. It's so shiny that if you're at a 45-degree angle, you're not going to have the same contrast or same detail viewing. So if you're doing a presentation on a touch screen, other people won't be able to see it as high as watching it directly. Another issue is, because it's so reflective, if you're outside and it's somewhat cloudy or sunny, you might as well not use it, because you will not, in most cases, be able to see the screen because of the glare and the reflectivity. It's almost like putting a mirror in front of your face. I'll tell you another reason. First of all, the touch screen, in my opinion, ergonomically, is suitable for a clipboard. If you have a clipboard, it's great, like the iPad, or even the new Microsoft product that clips off and it goes onto there and it becomes like a clipboard, you see? But let me ask you, how many people do you know that walk around with a clipboard taking notes outside or even in school campuses? Not many, although there is a use for it. An average clipboard, such as this one here, might weigh, say, 100 grams to 200 grams at the most. It's not bad. It doesn't weigh you down. Once you start getting heavier than that, and most iPads and other tablet computers are significantly still higher than that, then you have a limited amount of time you can use it before you get fatigued. Probably after an hour or several hours, it just becomes kind of annoying. So the technology is still not there, but I do foresee in the future when tablets or iPads start getting down to the 100-gram range, they will have a really good use at that point, although they would probably still be useful. So getting back to my original point here, if you have a clipboard, you don't have any other input device, such as your voice or other mouse or mice, then writing on a clipboard makes sense. You can write and it's great. Typing on a clipboard makes sense because it's flat and you can bring it right up to your face, move it in any angle, lie down, go into bed, watch it, type because you don't have an input device. But when you have a laptop computer, and even the ones that rotate and turn into clipboards, you essentially are playing with a health hazard here. There is absolutely no point, and I'll explain to you now a few more points here as to why. First of all, it's ergonomically terrible. If, for example, you need to type, you need to lift your arm and touch the screen, and I'm using this computer just as an example, even though it's not a touch screen. If you're typing and you need to move your hand a few inches or hold the side of the screen, try to access the center, which you can't, or go like this, you have to move your arm, which means you're moving your wrist, you're lifting your entire arm, several pounds, and what that does is, with repetitive motion, it gets very fatiguing depending on the application. So you're going to have issues with your hand, with your wrists, with your shoulder, with your neck, and it's an unsustainable position. You will end up most likely developing postural asymmetries, which means you're not at the right angle with your body, but also tendon issues, nerve issues over time, and muscular strain, especially around the arm, shoulder, and then you might actually end up being much more fatigued. And here's another reason. Your hands are designed to work in 3 dimensions, to mold, move, touch, and see things visually. It helps with the universe, the 3-dimensional universe. So until we have 3D screens or goggles where you can interact in 3D, I don't believe that the hands should be used for anything that's 2-dimensional, like paper, a flat surface. And the only reason we're using these iPads on 2D surfaces is because we have to. There's no other keyboard. There's no built-in keyboard. So in those cases, it makes sense, and it could be efficient. However, I still believe that the hands are designed for 3D. So it's pointless almost to have a keyboard here that's very efficient, to have a trackpad or a mouse nearby that's very efficient and high accurate, and yet move your hand up and down. Your finger has to travel that distance from here to here to here to there, or even a few inches, and it's just not worth it. That might explain why companies such as Apple haven't done a touch screen yet on a laptop. Another thing that's really interesting is with that super high resolution, some points are 1 millimeter apart or less than a millimeter apart. Your hand or your finger is usually large, a centimeter or a little larger, or at least half a centimeter if you're a child. There's no way you're going to be able to get into microscopic detail as much as you are with a mouse, which is super sharp, moving a few pixels. The other thing is, when you're doing that and you're extending your arm, you don't have precise surgical stability. It's just common sense. You're leveraging the distance from your elbow to your wrist. It's hard to keep stable, unless you're a neurosurgeon maybe, but it defeats the purpose. So now you got to use the sides to stabilize your fingers. So my point is, with high resolution, it's silly. It's just silly. So you can use a pen, but even using a pen at a distance, half a foot or a foot away, you need to rest your elbow, your other hand on the screen, so you have stability to draw with, high precision like that. But I must say the technology now is getting better, but realistically, you're still not going to be able to get the tens of thousands of pressure points and thousands of colors of gray with the current technology as an artist. So I still think that's off, although there has been progress. So that might be beneficial in one instance, but in my opinion, an iPad or a tablet is still useful if you're going to be using the pen. Now, there are apps that you can use in your current setup that don't have the hands-on or touch screens. So in those cases, you can still use your trackpad for super detail to take notes and even write notes almost by hand if the trackpad technology is improved, or you can buy an artist's trackpad in order to do that. So all I'm saying is that the precision is not available, and the fatigue will be tremendous. There's so much energy that goes into moving off the keyboard and going onto the screen. So let me get to my next few last points. When you're using your hand, such as what I'm doing now, to touch something or an icon, you notice your finger gets in the way anyway. So if you want to touch that little mouse, touch it, you can't see what you're touching. You got to move your head all the way to the side. What angle here? So the fact is, it defeats the whole purpose, the high resolution and the touch screen on a laptop. So that's pretty much what I wanted to say.